Thank you for joining me. This video is going to be about actually turning my food into jewelry. I had a question on one of the videos recently about how to make the head pin stay without turning around, so I figured I'd just go ahead and show a couple things in this video. I store my metal in a box. So here's my components. Sometimes other things find their way in. You may recognize what type of food this is. I also have a s'more in there, an old s'more. Okay, so what I'm going to do is grab a head pin, and I'm going to grab a lobster claw clasp. That's usually what I put them on. And I just finished making the cupcake video, so I'm going to use the cupcake that I made. There we are. What I'm going to do is, this is already hardened clay. I've already finished it. The reason I like to make my clay foods first and put the holes in after they're cured is because I know that some of my customers may want them as magnets. They might want them on a ring or a cufflink, something that they have to be glued onto instead of having a hole placed through them. So here we go. I take a safety pin and I put it through where I want it to go. Now it is harder because, of course, it is baked. The way I save my hands a lot of hardship, because I do force it through my hands sometimes, but when I grab flat-nosed pliers for my jewelry making, I just go ahead and I grab them with my pliers, and with my thumb on my other hand I force it through, being careful not to stab yourself. And there we go. So I now have that forced through. Now the clay likes to kind of, I'm trying to think of the right words. After I remove the pin, that hole is going to start shrinking back up. So I leave it in there for a while, 2-3 minutes, and then before I take it off, I spin it a few times. I'm going to let it rest for a minute, so you don't have to see me put the hole back in there again. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to show you the earring rack that I was not able to show you last time. This is just an earring rack that I got. Let me go ahead and back up here. Get to see more of my work table. So this is my earring rack. I love my earring rack. I get them from a craft store. I use them for the fairs. And that's what I hang my foods on to dry when I glaze them. If they are fully glazed, like my truffles that you saw there. I'm going to set the camera back up again. Okay. Now I'll get back to making this into jewelry. So I'm going to spin this for a minute just to try to keep the hole open. I'm going to grab another head pin because I see the head pin that I have has a funky bottom. It's bent at the tip. So here's my head pin. And I take the safety pin out. I find the hole on the bottom. I stick it through. And there we go. So from here, I take my flat-nosed pliers and I'm going to make a full 90-degree angle pretty close. See, there's not too much of a gap. And I pull up as I do that to make the bottom of the head pin sit flat, flush against the bottom. Then I take my round nose pliers. Hopefully I could get this on screen. I'm kind of far away. But I bend back on itself. And I use my thumb to roll it around. So there's my loop where I stick my ear wire or my clasp or a split ring onto. I slide my charm clasp on. I hold it with my round nose, needle nose there, pliers. I grab the end with my flat nose and I bring it around and I do a couple wraps. Sorry there. And I don't know if you could see it. Let's see if it focuses here. Focus, focus. So you can see I have, I usually do 2 wraps. That's why I like it to be close. And I trim with my wire cutters there. Get off that extra metal. And then, to make sure that the charm is going to face the direction I want it to, I have the back of the clasp, the part where the handle is, facing forward, which means the actual ring has to sit sideways. So that way when you attach it to your bracelet, this is the way that it will hang forward. It's hanging forward because the back of the clasp is right there. So if you hang it on a necklace, this is the way it's going to hang. So that's how I do my jewelry. And it's good and tight in there because the polymer clay shrinks back up around the needle. So I can literally forcefully change it, but it doesn't just spin in there. If you did want to do a hole in your food before you bake it, I would suggest using a head pin and not one of the needle tools that you buy in the store, because if you are using a needle tool and it's bigger than the head pin, then that would allow it to spin. If you cook it with the hole in it like this, the clay is not going to shrink up around the head pin when you're putting it in later. But it is the same size as the head pin. So as long as you wrap the metal around after you form your loop, it shouldn't be spinning in there. See if we could get another look there. So see, I actually spin it. So I wrap that metal around so the metal actually touches the food itself. That helps it stay stationary. But when you do put the hole in after the clay is baked, that really does keep it from spinning because the clay will shrink back up around that head pin holding it tight. So there we go. So if you have any more questions, feel free to ask. I'm happy to say anything. I also later may do a tutorial on cakes and getting the right color of cakes and how I ensure that the cake is coming out the way I want it to. So take care. Have a good day. Let me know if you have any more questions. I'm happy to share tips, techniques, and all of that good stuff. Thanks again for stopping by. Bye.